Hello everyone, welcome. Welcome to Karm Yogi IAS. I will today discuss in the session about compassionate appointments and how it is related to Article 39 of the DPSP. Now, when we talk about compassionate appointments basically relates to any appointment that is given to an individual or a person based on certain compassionate grounds. Now, first of all, you people need to know what is the context of this present discussion. The context is recently Supreme Court rejected some of the applications for compassionate appointments that were to be filled by dependents of deceased government employees in West Bengal. Generally, the compassionate appointment is given to deceased relatives or the some of the dependents of the deceased person who was in a government service. Okay. Uh, the judgment also underlined that compassionate appointment is not a vested right. So this should be taken a note of. Generally, what happens, so, UPSC might be asking you a statement-based question whether compassionate appointment can be claimed as a right or not. Okay, so you should be very clear. It is not a right, neither a legal right nor a fundamental right. Okay, so that should be clear in your mind. Now, when we talk about compassionate appointments, how is it related to your directive principles of state policy? You should be well aware of it. So, how is it related to DPSP? Right to livelihood, you people must be knowing, is discussed in Article 39 of the Constitution. Now, this right to livelihood is under DPSP. Now, this idea of compassionate appointments can be deduced from that Article 39 of the Constitution. So, keep a note of it. In the examination, if such kind of a statement is asked, whether it is deducible from DPSP or it can be derived from fundamental rights or preamble, then directive principle will be the appropriate answer. Now, what is the objective of compassionate appointment? Generally, it gives employment on compassionate grounds. You also know that dependent members of a family whose sole breadwinner was a person who died or who retired or who there was certain terminal illness to that particular person, then the family is left without any source of support. So as a result, to provide support on compassionate grounds, because right to livelihood is discussed in Article 39 and it is the state which will provide this right to livelihood. So the state has responsibility to provide compassionate appointment to the dependent of the deceased member or terminally ill member. Now, multiple factors are responsible for providing compassionate appointments. First is the financial condition of the family, whether the family is well off, whether the person who died or who is terminally ill or who cannot earn for the family was the sole breadwinner, that should be taken into account. Then there is presence of earning members. If there are too many earning members in a family, then there are chances that compassionate appointments may not be granted. Then family size, the ages of the children, as well as essential needs of the family. These all have to be taken into account. Now, there is Office Memorandum of DOPT. DOPT is Department of Personnel and Training, which looks after the personnel and training matters as well as the official matters of a particular department. So it said that appointments can only be made for Group C post against the direct recruitment quota. So these things should be kept in mind. Compassionate appointments cannot be made for any Class A or gazetted post or even the Class B post. They have to be made for Group C post only. So this should be taken into account. Now, who can be the eligible applicants for compassionate appointments? So these should be taken a note of. It applies to dependent family members of a government servant. Keep this in mind. A state government servant or central government servant who dies during the course of service, including death by suicide, who retired on medical grounds under Rule 2 of CCS medical examination or corresponding provision in Central Civil Service Regulation before the 55 years of age, who retired on medical grounds under Rule 38. So these rules and all you don't need to remember. These are a bit redundant. These things will not be asked in exam, but yes, retirement all in all is a provision that should be kept in mind, but retirement under certain sections. Okay. It also applies to armed force employee who dies during service, killed in action, medically discharged, and is unfit for civil employment. So this should be taken into account. So these are the eligible conditions for compassionate appointments. Again, I am quoting, it is not a right. It is mentioned as a rule in DOPT circular. Now, when we were discussing about compassionate appointment, we should discuss about directive principle of state policy as well, especially Article 39. What does Article 39 say? DPSPs were borrowed or a concept from Spanish Constitution, okay, which came in the Irish Constitution. So it emerged in Article 45 of the Irish Constitution, and from there we purchased or we bought DPSP. Constitutional provisions are Part 4 of the Constitution of India, Article 36 to 51 contains DPSP, as you people might be knowing. Article 37 of Indian Constitution states about application of directive principle of state policy. Why I am quoting all these important Article 37 and Article 45 of Irish Constitution? Because nowadays UPSC has a habit of asking in-depth questions, and in order to increase the difficulty level of the paper. So you people must be aware about these minute details and these nitty-gritties in order to be well abreast with the concept. Okay. These principles aimed at ensuring socio-economic justice to the people and establishing India as a welfare state. So, DPSP provides for socio-economic justice, and when we talk about fundamental rights, they talk about political justice. Okay, so this should be kept in mind. There was a question in 2015 or 16 about which of the following aims to ensure socio-economic democracy in the country. So it is DPSP. Okay. Now they have been classified into three segments. First is socialist principle, then there are Gandhian principles, and there are liberal and intellectual principles. Okay. Article 39, when we are talking about, then Article 39 states that the state shall be securing right to an adequate means of livelihood to all citizens. State shall also be providing ownership and control of material resources in order to serve the common good. Okay. The state shall avoid concentration of wealth. There has to be equal pay for equal work. The protection of strength and health of workers has to be ensured by the state, and childhood and youth shall not be exploited. So for all these provisions, there are separate laws being framed in India. Okay. For all these provisions, many laws have been framed to ensure the implementation of these provisions. Now I am giving you all people a task. After the completion of the session, please go and research about the laws that have been framed by the government, central government, to ensure adequate means of livelihood, to ensure the common good, and prevent concentration of wealth, to ensure equal pay for equal work, to protect the health of workers, and to ensure that childhood and youth is not exploited. Okay, these things should be taken into account, and go and search about it. Now, in relation to this session, I am going to discuss PYQ. First and foremost, you have UPSC Civil Service Exam 2020, where one question was asked about from the DPSP. With reference to provisions contained in Part 4 of the Constitution of India, which of the following statement is correct? They shall be enforceable by the court. They shall not be enforceable by the court. The principles laid down in this part are to influence the making of laws by the state. So just now I told you that many laws have been made to ensure implementation of Article 39. Similarly, to implement many other articles, laws have been framed by the center and the state. So this statement is correct. They shall not be enforceable by court. Yes, it is correct. They are not justiciable and cannot be enforced by the court. So statement 1 is incorrect. The rest two statements are correct. So answer is 2 and 3. Then in 2017, we had one more question. With reference to Constitution of India, the DPSP constitute limitations upon legislative function, executive function. Legislative function means the lawmaking function. So are they limitation? No, they are not limitation. So this is incorrect. Are they limitation of executive function? No, they are positive effect on executive function. They tell the state and they compel the state to do certain legislative and executive function. Okay. So neither one nor two is the correct option here. Okay. Both the options are incorrect. They are not limitation. Rather, they are facilitators of legislative and executive functions. In 2021, there was another question. Under the Indian Constitution, concentration of wealth is violation of. Now, just now I asked you, what is it violation of? DPSP. Okay. Don't get confused with right to equality. Don't get confused with right to freedom, and don't get confused with concept of welfare. Okay. All in all, we have to look at the broader picture. So DPSP, just now I discussed Article 39, try to prevent concentration of wealth and tell the state to ensure and make such policies that prevent concentration of wealth. Okay. So I would summarize the session once again. We just now discussed about compassionate appointments. What was the context of it? Then we discussed what is compassionate appointments. Then we talked about who are the eligible applicants of compassionate appointments. Then in this relation, we discussed Article 39 of DPSP and certain previous year's questions. Now, for you all people, I will suggest a role. Go and study about DPSPs. Okay, just after the session, take out half an hour time, 1 hour time, and quickly revise the DPSP segment. Okay. Till the next time we meet, try to keep up the learning. All the best to all of you, and we'll meet soon. Have a good day.